Hi everybody, this is the Retro Bear recording this on National Podcast Day for transmission 4 days later. But we thought it was quite special to do this tonight with another exciting episode of the tNb Gaming Podcast. Yay, 24, number 24. No ducks this week, but we have the people who were talking about ducks last time we were talking about ducks. Anyway,
the Raccoon Boys.
This is quite possibly the Raccoon Boys. It's quite possibly the crappiest introduction I've done so far, but there we go. Hello everybody, this is the tNb Gaming Podcast. This is the Retro Bear in the Retro Gaming Pantry, joined by two of my fellow esteemed tNb colleagues tonight. Unfortunately, Sean's not here, Eddie's not here, and Rob's not here, but I'm sure they'll be back again very, very soon for an upcoming edition. In the meantime, I'll mention the two gentlemen I have with me this evening. First of all, welcome back to PeteFighterII. Good evening, Pete.
Good evening, Mr. Bear.
And how are you?
I'm fine. I'm tired. I've just gone back to work after 2 weeks off.
2 weeks off.
But I'm always tired because I don't know. Every time you ask me how I am, I'm tired.
Is it a coincidence, or is it just your stock answer you use and everybody asks you how you're getting on?
I think it's just general lethargy.
Was it thyroid? Have you been checked for thyroid problems lately at all? Is it?
Not in the last 10 years, actually.
Advocaat related.
It could be Advocaat related. I've not had Advocaat since Christmas, so it'd be good Advocaat if it is.
Yeah, that's just the other voice you can hear jumping in before I introduce him is our resident Advocaat expert, and it's hello once again to Nath Retro One. Hi, Nath.
Good evening. Sorry, the talk of Advocaat got me going. I've only just discovered it. To be fair,
I was going to say
there's a drink that tastes like marzipan and is alcoholic, and I didn't know about it. So this is like all my Christmases come true.
You've been an expert for approximately 30 minutes, haven't you? Really? I think we started talking about it half an hour ago.
Well, the pubs are closed, so I'm going to have to go to the supermarket and get some.
Yeah, you have to try that. As always said, you're going to become addicted to it, and then we'll never see you again. That'll be it. Just be a footnote at the end. Did you remember Nath Retro 1 year? He got addicted to Advocaat and Marzipan, and that was it. We never saw him again.
Battenberg and Rehab, that's what we're going to call it. That'll be my novel.
It's title of your autobiography, Battenberg and Rehab.
It's going to be like Tony Montana, isn't it? Just with a big pile of marzipan on the table.
Sniffing the sugar off it.
Yeah. Just for anybody who's listening for the very first time, we do talk about games, honestly. Not just
in between the madness.
Yeah, just in case you stumble across this and wondering what the hell we're talking about. Welcome to the tNb Tangents. So, better sort of state what we actually do in this business, because what we talk about is what we've been playing during the past couple of weeks. We do one of these every 2 weeks now, and then after that we sort of go into a bit of a subject. And this one is quite relevant this week because it has been in the news. So much so that I think BBC Breakfast did a feature on it on Tuesday morning.
Is it Trump?
No. Not
COVID.
Yeah, COVID. Shortage of, I don't know,
toilet paper.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, all that sort of business going on, but something gaming related anyway. But it has been sort of on the mainstream news, which is quite good. I'm pretty sure you can guess what it is if you haven't been clever enough to read the title card and the title of the video that we've done about, because it will tell you what it is there. Yeah, so that's that, and we shall launch into that very shortly. But we go around the table to find out what everybody's been up to. I spoke to them. I know Pete's been off for 2 weeks, as he said at the start, so he's obviously got an incredibly long list of games he's been playing since we last spoke to him.
Herf, is that my cue to start?
Yeah, yes. In your own time, mate. It's no problem at all. I have got all evening.
All right. Well, firstly, I've got a list on my phone. Hang on.
He's got a list on his phone. He's come well prepared. This is it.
Yeah, I started with Marvel's Avengers on the PS4.
Oh.
Firstly, does it come under M or A?
What does a spine say?
Marvel. It says Marvel Avengers. On the
Then it comes under M. Anybody else who follows it under A is an idiot.
Right. So it comes under M just before Marvel Spider-Man as well.
Yes, because obviously that's a Marvel A for Avengers, Marvel S for Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's how I've got it listed on my shelf. So
that they say following the correct method.
Oh, not this again, honestly.
Anyway,
We're going to upset people.
I noticed on the podcast that you were a guest on the other day, Mr. Bear, that
Oh, yes.
I can't remember his name. Who was interviewing you?
LKG, Little Con Gaming.
That's the guy. I noticed he mentioned he was playing Avengers, and he made out that it was amazing. I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I kind of think it was a little bit weak, but I don't know. I don't want to get too far into it because I mean, it's all right. I just don't think it was for me. Really, it was like I finished the single player campaign, and I'd heard that the single player campaign was where the strength of the game is, and after that, it goes into like multiplayer missions and stuff that keep on changing on a weekly basis. So so the game can carry on forever, basically. And they're going to keep bringing out more characters, so you can add more to your Avengers team and stuff, and team up with your friends and have like different 4-player teams and things.
Are they actual Avenger team members?
Oh yeah, there's Diana Rigg and no, there isn't.
Question.
Diana Rigg.
Question.
That was the Avengers. And...
John Steed, Emma Peel.
Oh, yeah. So I realise what you've done there now. That's all right.
Question. I've got my hand up, but nobody can see. Question. When you say you can keep adding Avengers to it, what do you mean? Because there's only a finite number of Avengers, unless you have like.
There's only 6 in the base game, and then they're adding Spider-Man to it on the PlayStation versions shortly. But like every so often, every month or so, they're going to add a new character to it, for, like DLC for free. So like Hawkeye is going to be the next one that comes on.
I thought you meant they're going to add like, I don't know, Banana Man or something, like just add in stupid Avengers just to keep it going.
Maybe they will. Banana Man.
I think it's highly unlikely that Super Ted should be in there first. You're not Banana Man.
Well, for the Welsh boys, yes.
Yeah, that's it.
But they're going to keep adding in that so you can keep playing. But I felt like the campaign, there's like a story was sort of building, and then it never really got resolved. And it was just kind of like, basically you're just playing a big prologue to the multiplayer stuff, which I've got no interest in. So I don't know. I think maybe the game wasn't for me, but I really didn't rate it very highly.
Yeah, it's something I've looked at, and I thought, I'd quite like to play that, but then I've heard sort of pretty negative reviews about it as well.
The whole, the main storyline, I mean, I don't think either of you guys are particularly comic guys, are you?
Oh, I used to be. Yeah. That's what I was quite fascinated when they said they're going to keep adding Avengers to it, because they start adding in people in who never in the Avengers, and
most of Marvel has now been in the Avengers at some point.
Yeah, I think at some point I was a member of the Avengers as well, so I don't know.
Who was? I've all got in my head now is because I said Emma Peel and John Steed and the other one. Who was the other one now? I can't remember.
Tara.
Do you mean a new Avengers, don't you?
Yeah.
Is this topical because of Emma Peel?
We lost Diana Rigg, so I mean, it's really topical, isn't it? Yeah, it's quick. Everybody gets their phones out and double check.
Oh, he was in the new Avengers. Oh, it's the weird-looking guy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, what, Gareth Hunt?
Yeah, that's his name, but what was his Avengers name? It could have been just Gareth Hunt. They could have gone brilliant.
No, that was
Gambit. He's a card guy.
That was an X-Man.
That was
Gambit,
X-Man,
wasn't it? It was Gambit, though, wasn't it?
Was it?
What, he was called Gambit?
Yeah, it was called Gambit. I'm sure he was.
Mike Gambit.
Yeah, I think he thought it was Keith
you're
Gambit.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Am
Did
I
he throw
right?
cards? You are Mike Gambit. Keith Gambit. Who's Keith Gambit? Mike.
He was in Duty Free. No, that was Keith Barron. Yeah, sorry.
So Mike Gambit hangs around with Avengers, and Gambit throws cards at people.
Played by Colin Farrell in desperately poor films. What was that film? That was Bullseye, wasn't it?
He throws anything he can get his hands on. Sometimes playing cards.
Always hits his mark, apparently.
This is a famous tNb tangent, if you haven't already guessed.
But
and Purdy, Joanna Lumley. He was in the New Avengers.
She was.
Wikipedia's great.
In the film.
Wikipedia's great, isn't it? Oh yeah. I mean, just so we just complete the Avengers lineup, the original Avengers, John Steed and Emma Peel, as we mentioned. The other two were Kathy Gale, which is Blackman, Tara King, played by Linda Thorson.
I only really knew of the original two from the original ones. So. Anyway,
I think we've covered that. Anyway,
the Marvel Avengers side of it.
Yep.
The main sort of game focuses mostly around the newer Miss Marvel, who is
So Uma Thurman.
What?
Is that Uma Thurman?
Uma Thurman?
Uma Thurman?
Yeah. She was in the Avengers.
They're back in the Avengers, yeah.
Oh, not that one, yeah. And what's his name? Ray Fiennes, wasn't it?
Eddie Izzard was a big spider guy. He wasn't Spider-Man.
Sean Connery was in the film as well, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's ages since I've seen it.
They described the fight in that film between Sean Connery and the John Steed character as it was like watching Stan Laurel beat up his grandfather or something like that. Cause I thought that's good enough for me. I'm never going to watch that film ever again.
Oh.
God, sorry, Pete.
Sorry.
We'll shut up now. Our Avengers knowledge is just knows no end.
My Uma Thurman just joke went off people's heads. Sorry, Bumhead. Go on.
No, it's all right. I remember what you're talking about now. I thought, yeah, she was in the film. Yeah, sorry, Pete.
The game focuses around the new Ms. Marvel. It was she was really popular because she was the first. I think she was the first Muslim Marvel character. And she's a teenage girl called Kamala Khan who's got like stretch powers. And I feel like if the game was just solely based around her and the other Avengers were just supporting characters, it would have been really good. But it just felt really weird just kind of zipping between characters. I don't know. I didn't feel like any of them were fleshed out enough. But yeah, I mean...
Is it one for fans only, or is it, I say you're being a comic book fan yourself, would you recommend it to people who enjoy it?
Possibly. I think it's probably more for people who are fans of the films. Which, I mean, that's a bone of contention that I have, which I'm not going to get into, but yeah, I think people who are like really into the Marvel films, into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, are probably get more out of it than me. But then again, the voice acting's like it seems, and the way the characters look, it looks like people dressed as the Avengers for Halloween. So
imagine how that looks. Yeah,
I don't know. I think it'd either really annoy fans of the films or be right up their street. I don't know. But
I can't even picture that.
After I finished that, I moved on to moved back onto Tony Hawk's 1 and 2 remastered on the PS4.
Yep.
I played through the Tony Hawk 1 campaign thing. Campaign? I think they call it. At one point, I nearly put my controller through my TV, and I had stopped playing it for about a week because I got that angry with it. But no, it's. I heard on a podcast actually that a quote which I quite liked, which when you're making these remakes and remasters of games, you need to make it so it plays how you remember it playing, and not so it plays how it actually played.
Did we say that?
No, we didn't say that.
I said that.
Fuck it. I think that's way too highbrow for us to say something like that.
I think that's right, because you think back to things with like rose tinted glasses, don't you? And they're never as good as you remember. It's like, I don't know. I can think back to PS2 games, and in my head they look as good as a PS4 game. So I think in that kind of respect, it applies to the controls as well. And these remasters control pretty much exactly how the old games did, which isn't that bad, but it's still very dated and a bit frustrating at times.
As much as I dislike the series, I thought the general feedback on this was pretty good so far.
Yeah, I think. Well, I was enjoying it. It's just there's one particular level which I believe is down in history as the worst level in any Tony Hawk game. It's called Downhill Jam. Not to be confused with the game on the Wii. It was a level in the first Tony Hawk game as well, and that's the level that I got stuck on quite badly. And I don't know. It's like it's just so frustrating. It's untrue. But the rest of the game I didn't do too badly on, and I kind of coasted through it. And I've done every goal on every level, sort of thing. But I'm having a little break before I move on to the Tony Hawk 2 bit of it. Yeah. After that, I've been playing a game called Double Kick Heroes on the Xbox One, and I know you guys have heard of it because I've banged on about it on the chat. But it's kind of like it's sort of a cross between Donkey Konga and like a shoot 'em up.
Oh yes, I remember now. Yes,
yeah. You've got like it's like a rhythm sort of game. You're using A and B as two like bass drum pedals. You're playing as a metal band. Yeah, and you've got like a drum kit on the back of the car, which is connected to two guns, and you're being constantly chased by zombies. And you need to sort of drum in rhythm to the song to shoot the zombies.
I like the sound of that. Yeah, the artwork on that is really good as well.
I like
the styling on it.
I like the sound of it, but then I look at the gameplay and think it's going to be like Patapon, and that made me want to throw my PSP at a wall continually.
I don't know if it was something to do with the PSP or not, but I remember trying to play Parappa the Rapper on it, and I just couldn't do it. So I don't know if there's like some kind of lag between the buttons and the screen on the PSP, just on the system, or what. But I know rhythm-based games on there apparently aren't particularly good. But no, I had a lot of fun with this game. It's got the kind of attitude towards metal fans because it's all metal music, obviously with two double bass drum things. It's all metal music, and I find with games that are made by people who probably aren't metal fans, the kind of their image of a metal band is very different to how it actually is. It's like all inclusive, and like there's girls in the band. There's one who's got pink hair. There's a guy with long hair and all that kind of thing. It's like a lot of diversity and stuff, which doesn't actually tend to happen in metal bands. Everyone's dressed in bright colours and stuff. I don't know. It's just kind of it's just not realistic. But
just say I must be. That's a sort of game that I sit here week after week and say, I like the sound of that, and go and do about it. So I think one of these days I'm going to go back and listen to all these and go, yeah, I can do that. So it looks like it's available on the Switch as well, isn't it? I think.
Is it?
Yeah, it's the only problem is it's like £20 to buy. I played it on Xbox Game Pass, and I don't think I would. Well, I wouldn't have paid that much for it. But it is fun. It's really fun. But the only other problem I had was the fact that I don't think they're proper licensed songs on it, or if they are, I didn't know any of them, so it was kind of hard to drum along when you don't know what's coming up.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
Does a little flashy thing not happen? Does it not have a little flash or a little visual prompt or something to show you when you got to?
It's literally just like a track that goes along at the bottom, and like on a Guitar Hero kind of thing where you've just got to hit it at the right time.
Yeah.
But then again, there are tracks on Guitar Hero games and Rock Band games which you probably wouldn't be familiar with as well. So.
Yeah. But I don't know. You just find it. I find it at me particularly. I find it a lot easier if I do know the song, because I know what's coming up and I can sort of predict how I'm going to do it. But,
yeah, I mean that it does help at the end.
Yeah, but yeah, it's fun. I ended up having to hold the pad in two, holding one end of the pad in two hands.
Yeah,
and tapping with my index fingers on A and B because there's a lot of just blasting. I think they call it blast beats in the metal music term. But it's where you're just constantly drumming on the bass pedal for super fast. And I just couldn't physically do it with one hand. But yeah, nice fun little game. Sorry, I got a bit distracted during that.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
I moved on after that. I played Golden Axe 2, the arcade version on the Pandora's Box, which I wasn't aware that there was an arcade version of Golden Axe 2.
I wasn't either until you just mentioned it then.
I don't know if maybe it was a prototype or what, but there's very little information about it on the internet. Because it tends to go from Golden Axe 1 and then moves on to Avengers Assembling, is it?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, which was not on my Pandora's Box, and I really wish it was because I've never played it.
Is that the one where you, after defeating Death Adder, go inside the castle and have an extra level with him? Is that what you mean? No. Okay.
I think that's actually the end of the first game, isn't it? I think you can do a certain thing.
Well, the first game either ends when you defeat Death Adder outside the castle, or you get the queen go, oh, I think he's controlled by somebody inside the castle, and you get a whole nother level to like fight, which is crazy hard and loads of like ledges to fall off, and then you get a really hard version of Death Adder at the end.
Yeah.
But I don't know which is the original one. I think that's kind of like a well, I thought it was a fan-made extra, but I might be wrong.
I thought it was on the Mega Drive version. I thought it was you could do a certain thing or beat it on a certain difficulty, and then you get the extra level. I don't know though.
Because I always thought the Mega Drive version was like a straight to Mega Drive sequel. I used to play that an awful lot when.
Yeah, Golden X2.
Yeah. When I had it, I thought this was just a direct home game.
I don't know, but there's a it's called I think it's called something like Poleaxe 2 on the Pandora's box, but when you load it up it says Golden X2. The characters are all it's the same 3 characters as the first game, but they've been altered to have like different armor and stuff. And on this one you play it through and then you're in the castle and you fight a big knight with no head. And then after that you kind of warped into a weird room with Death Adder in it where you have to fight him, but yeah, I played through it anyway. I don't know if it's an official release or what, but it was fun.
I used to finish that game all the time on the Mega Drive.
Yeah, I used to play on the Amiga a lot, and I've finished that so many times on the Amiga, but I just never played this version.
That's in the Pandora's box, you said, was it? Yeah.
Yes. I've gone through every game now on the Pandora's box, so that kind of like project that I've got is over. So now I'm just kind of like working through stuff that caught my eye on it, sort of thing. I think I'm going to try 64th Street, a detective story next, which I believe Sean played on one of his. I can't remember how many days in the retro.
The arcade
it's
thing, the weeks, isn't it?
Yeah,
52 week arcade one too.
Yeah, is it 52 weeks? Yeah. I believe Sean played through that as well. Not played through it, but played it a bit, and it looked interesting. So I'm going to have a go at that next. I played Mafia, the definitive edition, which I talked about last time.
That's just been released, hasn't it?
Yeah, the remake of the first one. I knocked that off in 2 days. Actually, it came out on the Friday, and I was finished with it on the Sunday.
Long game, then long game where you didn't sleep for 2 days.
Well, it's kind of weird because it's a Grand Theft Auto style game, but it's not in any way free roaming. It's just mission after mission after mission, and you can just drive around the city. I mean, there's a mode on it called Free Ride, like the old driver games where you can just drive around. But in the game, it is literally just a linear sort of mission-based game. So yeah, there's not much exploration. So yeah, I did get through that quite quickly. Really enjoyed it though.
So a quick completion, but you know a game you enjoy.
Yeah, I mean it's nice and refreshing to have that nowadays because I remember a few years back, so around the PS3 kind of era, people complained a lot because games where you're coming out and it'd only take you like 5 or 6 hours to finish them. And now it seems like every game that comes out is like 30 odd hours. So it was quite refreshing to have quite a short game to play through.
30 odd hours would take me probably about 1.5 years to complete. But no, that's playing nothing else.
And then the last game I played through last week was I played the story mode of Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, which again I played on Game Pass, and it's
new one, is it?
It's I think it was 2018 or 19. It was it's like I say a one-on-one fighter. It's like you can have like teams of 3-on-3, but sort of tag in and out and stuff. It's a lot like Marvel vs. Capcom. But obviously all just Power Rangers characters. It's better than it had any right to be, really.
It sounds like it should be terrible.
Yeah, it looks, and we're never having like a physical release either. It's all just to download and everything.
I know a lot of people love Power Rangers, but goodness mate, good grief, what a load of rubbish.
Well, it's more based on the comics than the TV show, so it all deals with like. I think there's some kind of storyline in the comics where the Green Ranger there was an alternate reality where the Green Ranger didn't turn good; he carried on being evil. and then became all powerful, took over the world, and that. And now he's moving through different realities to try and kill all the Power Rangers in the universe or something.
There's only one Green Ranger, and that was the one that was in Yogi Bear. Sorry, yeah.
Ranger Dan.
No, Ranger Smith. Ranger Smith.
Was
I
it?
thought you'd be against him. I thought you'd not.
I thought
like
it was
him.
Ranger Dan. There was definitely a Ranger Dan.
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I heard what you said, Pete, by the way. I heard what you said there.
Sorry.
Yeah, I thought you'd hate the Ranger because he keeps stopping you taking his picnic basket.
Yay.
But yeah, it was a fun fighting game at the end of the day. Not many characters, which is kind of weird to say it's a 3-on-3 fighting game. So I played through the story mode and there were a lot of repeated fights. But I enjoyed it. It wasn't very long, and interesting storyline really. So yeah, so the games are finished, and now I've just started. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's called Hellblade. I think it's Senua's Sacrifice. Which is kind of like, it's sort of like a God of War style game. It's based in Norse mythology, and you're playing as a girl who she's traveling to hell to try and resurrect her dead boyfriend or something. But it deals with a lot of like mental illness and stuff. Like you're constantly being like whispered to by voices that are supposed to be in your head and things like that. And I think it's kind of implied that she's not actually in hell; she just thinks she is. So I don't know. I've only just started it, so I'm kind of not fully understanding what's going on yet.
Sounds a bit creepy.
Yeah, I was looking at some screenshots. That looks
it's
very
What was
sort of
the title
dark.
Sorry?
What was the title again, sorry?
Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. I don't know how you pronounce Senua, so. But yeah, it seems interesting. It's a very, very good looking game.
Yeah,
it's fairly old. I think now it's a couple of years old. But
Yeah, their graphics look really.
It's really pretty. But yeah, it seems interesting. A lot of people have sort of blasted it for having a very clumsy approach towards mental illness, but I don't know. It seems alright to me, but that's as far as I am.
That's a big list this week, isn't it, mate? No, thank you for sharing that with us. And there's what wide range of titles, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I do when I've got to. That's basically in the last week as well. I don't think I did much gaming in the first week. So that's what I do when I've got time off.
It's like a year's worth of gaming for me, though.
Same.
Good grief. Nath, what have you been playing since?
Not nearly as much as that. I played Tetris. I really enjoyed that, actually.
What did you play Tetris on?
The Game Boy. The only way to play Tetris, is it surely?
Well, I don't know.
No, there is other ways, but
Tetris DS is actually my personal favourite version of Tetris.
The original Tetris from the Game Boy had to be played, and I really enjoyed that. When I've had like a couple of minutes to myself, which isn't very often, I'll pick it up and fail miserably because I always put it on the hardest setting and try and play that. But no, you can't beat a classic. But I say actual games, I mean, so in Tetris there. What have I played? Actual games. I'm trying to think. I did remember, and now I can't. I've been carrying on with Xenoblade Chronicles Torna on the Switch. So anyone who's played the Xenoblade series, it is a JRPG. It is real time, and it very much follows the kind of new mechanic of JRPGs. So the Final Fantasy turn-based combat, where you wait for somebody to take a turn, and then the enemy takes a turn, and then you take a turn, and that's kind of gone. It is all kind of real time, where you kind of will attack an enemy, and every time you do an attack, that'll power up a second attack, and every time you do a second attack, that'll power up a third attack, and then you can chain those attacks together to build elemental attacks and beat down the enemy. It's all very complicated, and it makes sense to those playing it, but it doesn't make sense when I'm trying to explain it, unfortunately. but it is a very fun game. I've enjoyed the Xenoblade series, and slowly working my way through them, but that one's going to be kind of a long one. I'm not sure quite how many hours it is. It'll be probably filled with a lot of cutscenes, so I've been putting a little bit of time into that where I can. What else have I played? I have played a little bit of New Zealand Story.
On what?
That will be revealed later on. A new system has been added to the collection, but I played a bit on that, which I really enjoyed because I haven't played New Zealand Story in so long.
Oh, it's great, isn't it? That game?
It's just such a brilliant little game. It's a real kind of fun one, and it epitomises kind of Taito games or Tato games, however you wish to pronounce it. But I played that for a little bit. I got to the bit where you've got to take on your enemy's little flying cloud, or I don't know what they are really. They're a cloud or a little helicopter thing.
It's been years since I've.
Those are two very different things.
I know, but I think I think you kind of have both. I think there's some enemies on clouds, and there's some on little kind of helicopter things that fly. Well, upside down helicopters, kind of like the ones you see in Mario, and you use them to negotiate spikes to get to the end of the level. I can't remember what they are because I'm trying to fend off a load of enemies that are just trying to shoot me out of the sky. So I didn't really pay much attention to what I was flying around in.
How many main levels has that game got?
I don't know. I don't think I got particularly far at it, but it's just such a charming little game. Just to pick it up and have a quick go on it was quite a lot of fun.
That's what I need to dig out again. I think.
Yeah, that's it. You go back to these games and you haven't played for years, and you just get drawn into it. It's not like Bubble. You haven't played it for years, but you go back to it and you're like, it's so just easy to pick up and play in that arcade style. So I played that. What was the last one I played? Oh, it's not going to come to me. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Sorry, I saw that Advocaat. I've played a bit of Yoshi's Woolly World on the Wii U.
Oh.
Which, have you played that one, Bear? Have you got that in your Wii U collection?
One I haven't got, but one I would like to get.
It is.
Is it the one that comes with does that one come with the amiibo that's knitted or something?
It did, yeah. It came with a knitted Yoshi amiibo, so most of them are little hard statues. This one, if you got in the special edition, had a little knitted Yoshi, which had an amiibo kind of sewn into the foot, or the amiibo card, wherever it is. But yeah, I don't know quite what that did, because I don't actually own that amiibo, and I got this game when I got my Wii U. So I had it like when I picked up the console with a load of other games, and I was looking at this shelf, I think, after hearing people talk about their Wii U collections and watching some YouTube, and thought, yeah, I really need to pick up some of these and play. And it was between that, I think, and Captain Toad, the one that I'd pick up and play, which is also a really, really fun puzzle game. But yeah, Yoshi's Woolly World, it's a really, really pretty game, and everything, just the whole kind of background, all the layers is all knitted. All the enemies are just kind of wound wool, and you have balls of yarn that trail behind you, which you can either get from buckets or by effectively when you lick out at an enemy, it will unravel them like spaghetti and just roll them up into a ball behind you. And yeah, it's really fun. You use the balls of yarn to kind of knit other platforms, just throw them at enemies. You've got the chain chomps on a level, and you have to use them effectively as boulders to kind of smash through things. So you lure them up to a higher platform, then throw a ball of wool at them to tie them up, and then just roll them down the hill to smash through things. It has all kinds of hidden rooms and things like that. It's just a really well presented game in true kind of Nintendo style. It's a really gorgeous one to kind of look at, and I don't think it's very expensive, so it's definitely worth picking up if somebody gets the time. But yeah, I haven't got very far, and you have individual missions for each level where you have to either collect flowers, which I think give you kind of bonuses, or you collect wool balls that are hidden, and if you collect all 5, then you get another knitted Yoshi that you can play as in the next level. So yeah,
it's a beautiful looking game. I'll give it that. I've watched it. It looks absolutely beautiful.
It's a really
kind of
fun
games,
game.
I don't know how to describe it. It's like stuff that looks crafty.
Mm.
It's like there was the Kirby one. Kirby's Epic Yarn.
Rainbow
Epic Yarn, yeah.
Oh yeah, Epic Yarn.
Then there was stuff on the PlayStation like Little Big Planet and is it Tearaway on the Vita?
I don't know that one.
Everything's made out of paper on it and stuff like that, and even like Paper Mario, like the origami one that's just come out.
Yeah, well, there's
just stuff like that looks beautiful, and it's just so simple when it's made, but it actually looks like a real thing that someone's made out of paper.
Well, there's Yoshi's Crafted World that came out on the Switch, I think, last year, which is one I haven't got, which looks really cool as well. Kirby's Rainbow Paintbrush is another one, but that's kind of more everything looks like plasticine. Have you seen that one? That's a really, really good one. Have you not? Oh,
no.
It's, again, a really gorgeous game, but rather than everything knitted, everything looks like it's made of plasticine. And you have the mechanic of the Wii U gamepad. You use a stylus to basically draw a path for Kirby to follow. So he'll follow this kind of path, like either if it's a hill to go up and that to collect things. So not that dissimilar to those games you'd have on your phone where you have to kind of funnel things into a pot or something like that. But this one, he actually will follow the thing, but it's much more pretty and not rubbish like the phone games are. See, I didn't swear for once.
Yeah, but Yoshi's Woolly World, which is probably a patchwork which will be knitted together into a wonderfully great game.
Oh,
sorry.
They should have had you advertising.
That's why you're the leader of the podcast.
Yeah, and this is my last podcast, obviously. Stepping aside after that awful joke. Yeah, good looking game, that one. I must get hold of a copy of that because I do like sometimes games which look really, really good like that. Really do, better they look.
Just holds the test of time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If they look good.
Yeah, even Kirby's Epic Yarn now, that still looks like a really sort of fantastic game, that one.
It is. It's bloody hard. For a kid's game. So's Yoshi, to be fair. I don't know if it's just because I'm getting old now, but it seemed harder than it should have been.
All those years of Marzipan abuse, I think, is sort of catching up with it. There we go. Which just leads me to what I've been playing, and I've got the shortest list of the lot, I'm afraid. I've still been playing Pac-Man. Pac-Man Championship Edition DX on the PlayStation 3.
Nice.
I only play like an hour a day, but I just sort of like sit there about 9 o'clock in the evening, or 9:30, and think, I'm going to have a quick bash of that upstairs. And
so I'm addicted to Marzipan, you're addicted to pills.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, right up here, aren't we?
My dad used to sit and play Deluxe Pac-Man on the Amiga, and he'd just sit and play for hours. And I never really understood. I've never seen the appeal of Pac-Man, but he used to sit and play it to the point where you'd get to level 99 and it'd just start again. And he'd just play it for absolutely hours.
He completed Pac-Man?
It got as well as you could, yeah, because like I said, the game would just start again. There was no kill screen, it would just start again. So, but he would play through it like 3 or 4 times, just sat there.
I'm just getting obsessed with trying to beat my old scores, and I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer, but every course I play, I always end up making at least one mistake. And once you make that mistake, you've got no chance of getting your score. So it's really infuriating. But I keep going back and playing it. And I really should go and play something else, because if I don't, I shall just end up playing this the rest of the year if I ain't careful. But now I've sorted me recording. I got me splitter for me PlayStation 3, so I can bypass that. I can probably get these recorded now, which is so hopefully I'll be able to put some videos up of me trying to sort of beat my old scores.
Yeah, it'd be like that documentary King of Kong, wasn't it, where the guy's trying to beat Billy. Is it Billy Mitchell? Billy Mitchell, yeah. The guy's trying to beat Billy Mitchell's score and everything.
Not the guy from EastEnders, obviously, but
So I thought you were going with it. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I think people were still going on. I thought, yeah. I'm not sure what they call it. If it's King of Kong, I don't know.
It is King of Kong, yeah, because it's Donkey Kong, isn't it? But this could be like the Prince of Pac.
Yeah.
But you're trying to you are both Billy Mitchell and the other guy. Your past self is the Billy Mitchell, and your present self is the other guy who's trying to beat him.
Isn't that a restaurant?
What?
Prince of Pac.
That's over my head.
Yeah. that's gone over my head as well. You care to explain?
I thought it would be like a Pakistani restaurant or something. I thought it would work.
There's a pack of supermarkets we had in Rotherham. I don't know.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah. There was a Pakistani supermarket, not.
If you can submit any jokes you want to plan on using like that again, Nate, before you say them, just so we can.
Somewhere, someone laughed. Looking at you, Steve.
Yeah, you talking about Pac-Man actually, and it's reminded me as well. I've also been playing on my brand spanking new Atari 7800. I've been playing a game called Midnight Magic. It's a pinball game.
Oh yes, I've heard that.
Really enjoying it because I love video pinball. It's the most basic pinball game ever on 2600. But I picked up Midnight Magic and video pinball for about $5 together on eBay, and Midnight Magic is so much more. I don't know.
Magical.
Noisy. Yeah.
I don't want to say more complex or more like up to date or anything because it's still just an Atari 2600 game, but the sort of table looks more like a pinball table. It's not just rows of squares.
Realistic then.
Yeah, realistic. That's it. Yeah. I'm tired.
You sort of shake the television to sort of tilt it.
You have to bang it on the side a couple of times to get it to pick up the signal. But yeah, I've been playing that, and when I say brand spanking new Atari 7800, I took it home after buying it, thinking that the label was bubbling up, and I realised that no, it actually still has the protective film over the metal strip.
No way!
Wow.
So normally, like my kind of fidgetiness, it make me pick that off, but I'm trying to just program myself to want to leave the film on the console just for posterity.
So when did the 7800 come out?
88, I believe.
Boy, I was late as that.
Might have been 83 actually. Could be 83.
5-year difference. A lot of things happen in 5 years.
Yeah, but 3 is like half an 8, so it could be like that could be where I'm going. I think it might be 83 because I think it's older than me.
86 in America, 87 PAL. Finished in 1992. That's got quite a short lifespan then, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I think there's only like 59 games in it, 69, something like that.
And when you say brand spanking new,
I just mean it's like new. It looks new.
Just go and look at the games it came on that. 13 at the launch, Miss Pac-Man, Pole Position 2, Centipede, Joust, Dig Dug, Desert Falcon, Robotron 2084, Gallagher, Food Fight, Ball Blazer, Rescue on Fractalus, Track and Field, and Xevious.
A game. But yeah, I opted for the 7800 because it could play the 2600 games backwards compatible as well. So that's the reason why I went for the 7800 over the 2600. But yeah, it's just a nice little thing to own. I'm really enjoying it.
Oh, I said, yeah, it's got fairly.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
It's got fairly decent lineup of games on it as well. So
yeah.
Modern Target there's a version of Commando on there, Double Dragon, Ikari Warriors, Impossible Mission, Kung Fu Master.
I've got Impossible
Rampage.
The only actual 7800 games I've got are Impossible Mission, Choplifter, and Super Huey. And the Super Huey doesn't want to run. I'm trying to fix it, but I've done basically everything I can think of, and it's not running. So I think it might just be a dead one.
Duff old cartridge.
Yeah, but Eddie got it me for free, so no big deal.
Can't say fairer than that, can you? Really?
No.
I hate haggling, and Eddie insisted.
Yeah, I'm not very good at haggling either.
No.
Probably should make that public knowledge because then people see me coming and saying, "Oh, he went that good for this," you know. 50 quid, yeah. Right, so that's what we've been playing this week. So obviously we now move into this week's subject. We said it has been in the news this week, and it's Britain's apparently best selling console. I'm not sure whether they meant it the original one or the family of consoles that come with it. This week apparently is 25 years since the PlayStation 1 was inflicted upon, and now become the juggernaut that it is. Came into the market on their own. Sony never been in the games market. They were taking on the might of Nintendo. Sega was still in the market at the time, but were after the Saturn were beginning to lose their grip on it. PlayStation sort of blew everybody away. Since then, we've had 4 different incarnations. PlayStation 5 imminently on the horizon, whatever your opinions are on that. We'll touch briefly on the PlayStation family, but primarily this conversation is going to be around the PlayStation 1. I'm right in saying that we all own PlayStation 1s originally, would that be right?
Yeah. I've got about 60 of them.
Yeah, I owned one, but I didn't get it from launch. I had a second-hand one a couple of years in, I think, but it was just something else because this console I got after the Master System, and blows you away, really.
Yeah,
I mean, so Pete, it's one of your favourite consoles of all time, isn't it? This one.
Yeah, definitely. But I didn't have it from launch. My first model was it was the DualShock pack-in one, so I never actually had one with the normal controller. I don't think.
I think I did originally, and then I upgraded I bought a DualShock afterwards. Pretty sure I got mine 97, maybe.
Just trying to think when
I
think mine might have been Christmas of '98.
Right. We didn't get them originally, but we did pick them up sort of during the first run. Toby had one, I think, as well, by the sound of it.
Yeah, Toby had one. Has one now. Can't get off it.
He's currently playing Ape Escape with his paws, but he's not doing...
Sheepdog and Wolf.
Sheepdog and Wolf.
I was trying to wrap my brain for a dog-based game, and I couldn't think of one. The only thing I could think of was A Dog's Life on the PS2.
What's the other one I'm thinking of? Heart of Darkness. That's got a dog in it, hasn't it?
Oh, it has, yeah, Jesus.
No, it's a dog-based game, though.
Wasn't called
MDK.
Jesus, I don't think. Oh, Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, there we go. That was a dog-based game.
MDK had a big dog with 4 arms.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
Peter was digressing to dog-based games now.
There were dogs in Resident Evil, if you want to count them.
Yeah, they were, yeah.
Yeah, so PlayStation 1 basically had lots of games with dogs in it.
That's why Toby likes it so much.
There could be a joke about Spice World there, but I don't think we'll go to that one.
Oh, no.
Sacrilege, yes, no. I apologise if they're listening. They won't be, but that's fine. Yeah, so what were your first impressions when you got one?
When I got one, I'd already had extensive play because a couple of my friends had them from launch. I think I had a friend who was his dad was an ice cream baron. We'll not get into that, but he was like he had one from launch.
Yeah.
No, there was I don't know if anyone remembers the
Baron von
brand.
Raspberry Ripple.
Does anybody remember the ice cream brand Oldfields Ice Cream?
No.
No.
I'm still trying to pick up Mafia ice cream names. Sorry.
But yeah, his dad owned the company, so they were quite well off. And he got one from launch, and I remember playing games like Tekken and stuff. Played a hell of a lot of Tekken 2 at his house, and he had stuff like Jumping Flash, Crash Bandicoot, and things like that. A lot of the launch games, and just it blew me away. My first impression of that, I didn't want to play it because I felt like it was changing games there and then. Like changing it from what I loved and making it something else. I was very hesitant to play Tekken because I couldn't comprehend how it was going to control compared to stuff like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. But as it happened, it's very similar. But I just couldn't get my head around it, like fighting on a 3D plane. But yeah, I can remember just crowded around in his like sort of playroom kind of game room kind of thing.
Yeah.
And just taking it in turns on Tekken 2, especially when that had come out, and just having my mind blown. It was unbelievable.
Did you get a free flake with that?
No, there was like warring ice cream families where I grew up, but I'm not going to get into that now.
Oh Jesus! Was it the Whippies and the Calippos or something?
We had the old fields on one side and the Mazzarellas on the other, and it was just.
Did they walk down the street with like the jingles of the ice cream vans behind them, just doing click like West Side Story style?
Well, the Mazzarellas were actually Italian, so they basically were. They
were freaking mafia, Jesus!
Yeah. It sounds like a more dessert-based version of Peaky Blinders, I suppose. Really. all these sort of like dead ice cream people on the floor, like covered in flakes and hundreds and thousands and strawberry sauce, aren't they? You know.
Oh, it's really bad headaches because of eating it too fast.
Yeah. Oh no, he's topped himself. Yeah. Dear me. So, were there any ice cream wars down by you, Nath? Or were you just too busy playing the PlayStation?
I didn't know any ice cream barons. It sounds like a bit like. I don't know what to make of that. There's just no words, is it? I don't even know where to go with that. No, my first experience of a PlayStation, I think, was playing it at my friend's house. I had a guy move in to the house next door to me, and I think he was pretty well off in the sense that he had just about every console and just got bought loads and loads of games for Christmas, and I was still probably the same generation of Pete of just playing like console games. I had my Master System for like way longer than most people with consoles, so I was quite late to the PlayStation. But I remember sort of going around and playing his and being like, wow. And I think the first game I probably played, or one of the first games I probably played there was Wipeout. And it blew me away, and it still blows me away because you look at it compared to everything else at the time, and even though you can probably say it's a little bit kind of grainy and a little bit blocky, it still looks amazing. I think it hasn't really aged because that was its whole kind of style.
Yeah,
just the music and everything about it.
I was playing Wipeout 64 the other week,
and
it is still just every bit as good as it used to be. I mean, I have not played any PS1 games for a while because I've not actually got any of them, but playing Wipeout 64 and it was still everything I remembered it to be. Like,
but that's the enemy. That's the N64. but yeah, I remember because he had all those games, and I think he later on chipped it, which meant you can get even more for it somewhere down in Essex. He got it chipped, but the games were just amazing to like look at and play, and it's amazing how many, like, looking back on it, just kind of pass you by. I don't think I ever came across Klonoa back in the day. I just, things like the rare ones, Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, never came across that, and all these other games, but experienced so many. I think the ones that I remember playing with my friends from school, who I'd sort of bite to go and see, were things like Grand Theft Auto, which is amazing, because otherwise that would have been on the PC. So I had a PlayStation on the PC, which is amazing. It can handle the games to the PC, to be honest. And Die Hard Trilogy, I played that. I've said about this before. I think those are the games we played an awful lot of. And then, I moved on to games like Oddworld and things like that, and Final Fantasy VII. And it was just a case that even though those were one-player games, it was just amazing to kind of watch it. And you look back on the graphics now, it's like, yeah, they're a little bit rubbish. But back then, it was like, wow, for the backgrounds of it. It just looked beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, like you got. I mean, I played on my friends more than to start with. That way, but we were playing like crappy football games and things like that. I mean, he's trying to sell me on Adidas Power Football, which is probably the worst football game in the history of football games. It's terrible. But then Tekken 2. You mentioned that one, Pete. He was sort of trying to get me in fighting games and just don't get on. But we used to play a lot of that, and so when I bought my first one, I made sure that I didn't get any of those games at all, and I got Alien Trilogy in mine.
Oh, beautiful game.
Oh, I think there's another game with it as well. I'm sure it's 2 games, but at the same time. But I also remember sort of jumping on various sort of bandwagons when the game came out. So Resident Evil, when that first came out, I got that one. Metal Gear Solid, when that first came out, I got that. And I used to do the football games, International Superstar Soccer Series and the ISS Pro Evolution games. Played a lot of those. The fact that you could sort of like get a version of Madden with like commentary and introductions and pre-games and stuff, it was just completely alien to anything else I've sort of seen before. And it was just great. And so just to sort of say that the first time you played a game with a dual shock pad, I think the first time I played that was Tokka, and it was just like nothing else.
Funny story about Metal Gear Solid, actually, because talking about the PlayStation being chipped, that was one of the games that kind of had almost like a little bit of a copy protection thing going on. And Pete will probably know this one as well, where there's a point where it's like you have to call one of the characters, and it says "look on the box." And my friend, that's one of the games he got copied because he got his PlayStation chip, and he's like, "Well, they're talking about the box. I haven't got the box. I got a copy game." So you had to go through every
Meryl's number was literally on the back.
Yeah, so you had to go through every single bloody number in the communicator and ring to try and get an answer to somebody else. It's like, hey, after ringing every number in your phone book.
You could ring characters by doing that you've not even met in the story yet. I think there was one. I think she's called Nastasha Romanenko or something. One of the characters on it, and you didn't actually have to speak to her in the game at all.
Really? I don't remember that one, but that's right.
She was like I think she talked to you about weapons and stuff and what you could do with each weapon. But they mention her in the game, like, oh yeah, if you want any advice, call this woman and she'll tell you. But you don't actually have to talk to her at all in the game if you don't want to. But before they'd mentioned her, you could actually find her just by going through it. And I found that out because that's how I do. That's how I did it. I was trying to find Meryl's number. Just like chipping the PlayStation as well. We had a guy called John who used to come to the house with
everybody. The guy called John who did something like that. I just swear it was the same bloke. Yeah.
I'd ring him up like when I got my pocket money, like, oh, can I have like I don't know, Carmageddon and something or other, and then he'd turn up about 6 months later with my games.
6 months?
Yeah, he wasn't the most.
What did he go to Japan and get them pressed personally, or what?
He just wasn't very punctual. You'd have to like ring him about 4 or 5 times to get him to come, but
was he deaf or what?
No, just very, very late. I think he might have been a bit creeped out because I think my mum fancied him, but that was like apart from disc swapping on the Amiga, I think that was like my first foray into piracy. Getting like copied games for $5 a piece, which now seems like
backups.
But yeah, I used to buy them at $5 a piece. I think that was brilliant. But thinking back now, it's like Jesus Christ.
That's when CDRs were 50p each, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They're a new thing.
I wouldn't have paid a $5 back then, that's for sure.
No. Buying Wii games for 10p a pop. And
oh, dear.
Picking up Mega Drive games for pennies back then, weren't you?
That was it, wasn't it? Yeah, because nobody else wanted stuff like that anymore. They were trying to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I saw. I really regret it, but I've regretted it ever since. But I did sell my Mega Drive 2 to my sister for PlayStation games.
I traded my Mega Drive in for PlayStation games.
Yeah, Spice World, wasn't it?
Yes. And SmackDown. There was a decent game in there. Fortunately, but SmackDown was terrible.
They dogged to SmackDown though.
No, I don't know. Was there?
There was I think it was WCW Thunder. I believe
there was a dog in it.
Players. Yeah, there was like so many. I think it was obviously a wrestling game, and there were so many unlockable characters you could get. Like it was unbelievable how many there were. After a while, it was just like barnyard animals.
Yeah, it was. There was a video. I think Kim Justice did a video on it a few weeks back.
Yeah.
The amount of unlockable characters went all the way through and picked them out, and you were sitting there going, "What?"
My favourite one was there was a horse, and its name was Hoof Hearted. And I didn't get it at the time, but until you say it out loud.
I mean, there were that many unlockable characters in there. I think I was in there as well, so it's one of these things. Yeah, that's twice I got that one in.
You're in Tekken.
Was I?
Kuma.
Kuma.
Oh, Kuma. I mean, all the games I played on the PlayStation 1 that sort of changed my perspective of games were the Formula 1 games that came out from Psygnosis, which just completely different again. any sort of Formula 1 games you had. You got Murray Walker on the commentary, but the proper sort of licenses and everything looked as it should be. They look a bit rough now, but they're still, fair, decent racers. The other one that I really sort of I don't do it now, and it was probably not as much back then as well. But when you see a game, you get excited about it, and that was Medal of Honor.
Oh yeah,
that to me was just brilliant, and that's why I don't like the Call of Duty series so much, because I know Call of Duty is now taking that sort of genre to a completely different level. But I hated the success of Call of Duty basically killing off Medal of Honor, because those games, first two on the PlayStation, Medal of Honor and Medal of Honor Underground, and then the series that followed through after that, they were just great. I absolutely loved that, and of course, being a bit of a World War II history buff, it was even better. You were sort of playing something that was authentic and probably as good as anything of that genre relating to that period of time that was out there and then.
Yeah, I think the first one was heavily involved with Steven Spielberg as well, wasn't it?
That's right. Yes. I think I wouldn't be was sort of like be true, but I don't know if you got inspiration for Private Ryan, the film Private Ryan, from that.
I don't know. I think they both came out around the same time, didn't they?
Yeah, or whether it was meant to be a game based on the film. I don't know. But
I don't know.
Yeah, the influence was there from him anyway about it, and I think that's where they went to him first. I'm sure there's an article in Retro Gamer magazine about it a few years back, and they sort of took the idea to him. I think they were going with the Jurassic Park game, and he sort of turned that around and said, "Well, what about doing a game based on this?"
Well, they did both, didn't they? Because it was DreamWorks that made the game, both that and they did the Lost World Jurassic Park game as well.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, they might have been in talks with the Lost World game and come up with Medal of Honor. But I remember a standout part of Medal of Honor, the first one, was the level where you're undercover is in a train station, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And you've got your papers that you have to show to all the other guards and stuff. It's just stuff like that. I've never seen anything like that before.
Such a clever game.
It is. I used to go around shooting all the alarms. They'd go off.
Yeah.
And then they'd all sort of run towards you. Just end up shooting loads of people. Yeah.
having a silencer on your pistol as well. It was like, I know they've done it in things like GoldenEye and stuff, but being able to equip a suppressor on it just made so much. It made it feel so real.
Yeah, and you could do sniping as well.
Yeah.
Zoom in.
Yeah, I don't think there have been many examples of that sort of method in games before then.
No.
We had Silent Scope, I think, but that was Virtual Cop, which was slightly different.
Yeah.
But that
was a thing about headshots counting as well. I think that was like one of the first games where a headshot had actually counted for anything. The magazine advert, it had like a soldier and then a German soldier, and there's like a target, like 4 targets around the head and then 1 in the middle, and on all the ones that said around the head it said you die, and then the one in the middle said like you live or something. So like it's just saying that you have to get the headshot, otherwise you're gonna die and stuff. It was just like stuff like that really stuck with me.
There were certain ways of shooting them as well. If you shot them at a certain angle, they sort of fall forward, and then you could sort of like get a shot right at the back of their neck, and they'd fly back.
Yeah,
that sounds a bit too dissecting like for my life, but you just learn these sort of things. I think or shoot them in the leg or something like that. And
something else I quite liked about it as well is one of the unlockables you could have with the American movie mode, which it changed all the dialogue from the enemy troops, like from being German to like being English with a German accent. I thought it was quite interesting, quite smart.
Oh, that's really good.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I mean, like Time Crisis as well is another game. I'm just
the lighting games on the PlayStation. It changed that. It changed
incredible.
The game, really. Yeah, it's like
Point Blank, Time Crisis, the ones I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Things like the G-Con were coming with the. No, the G-Con itself didn't actually have the foot pedal, did it? But
no, it got 2 buttons on the side, so you sort of hold it, so you could duck down using that. It worked really well. I love that controller.
I had a gun called the Real Arcade Light Gun. I can't remember who made it, but it was like similar shape to the G-Con, but it did come with a foot pedal as well, and it also had like recoil. Like you actually had to plug it into the mains,
Ooh.
and it had recoil like one of the guns from the arcade machines.
That's awesome.
Wow, that's brilliant.
The thing is, though, it came with an adapter. I think it was like 5 volts or something, and the recoil was really weak. And I realised it had the same plug as the one that powered my electric keyboard, but that was like 12 volts. So I plugged into that, and it nearly took my arm off. It was great. Thinking about it, I could have burned the house down, but it's all good.
Yeah, just get on with it.
But yeah, things like that, and like racing wheels that you could buy and stuff, like it brought the arcade feel home.
Yeah, with games like Ridge Racer and
So I had a steering wheel as well, which had like pedals and had a gear stick and everything. You just never saw stuff like that before. It was amazing.
I mean, even the design of the game boxes were
brittle.
Yeah,
brittle.
Very brittle.
But again, it was just a simple black spine.
Flashy
on it.
though, wasn't it? They just looked good. They kind of had that edge, I suppose. But I think I wanted to speak about Resident Evil because talking about games on the system that kind of really pushed it forward, that was amazing. And I remember playing that an awful lot with friends.
One of the first games that had like fully voiced cutscenes and everything, wasn't it?
Yeah, FMV videos. They were the biggest thing back then with like PlayStations that had FMV videos, and you could actually get like not DVDs. You could actually get FMV movies to actually play on it as well. I think I knew somebody who paid a ridiculous amount of money to get something to plug in the back into serial ports so you could watch like FMV movies of it as well. But in game, they looked absolutely fantastic. When I picked up mine, I think, did you say you got it for Christmas, Pete, and you, Russ? When I got mine, I got mine second hand off somebody, and I bought it with an action replay device that you could plug in the back of the serial port. So you could actually watch the videos, like it would actually like trawl through the files, so you could actually watch the videos on it. And
the Action Replay Pro, I believe it was.
It is
one.
No, it's the Exploder one I got actually.
Oh, you got the Exploder?
Yeah, the Exploder cartridge. I've got one of them now. I managed to get one like I think it was last year because I sold my PlayStation for about 20 quid, and I really wish I hadn't. And it had one of those with it as well, which really helped with Final Fantasy VII because you could level up to level 99 before you left the factory without grinding for like 3 years, like some people do on YouTube. But I think this whole system, I was still playing like PlayStation 1 games well into the PlayStation 2 library. The PlayStation 2 had been out for like a long time before I probably packed in playing PlayStation 1 games, and now I'm probably more likely to go back to PlayStation 1 games over PlayStation 2 games. That's kind of the appeal that it still holds for me as a system.
It's the look of the games really that keeps me wanting to go back. I know it's like at the time it was like, oh look how smooth the N64 is and everything like that. But it's the kind of grittiness of the graphics that I really pine for. From back then, like the pixelization and everything. I don't know. That just really appeals to me.
Oh, I know what you mean.
It's just like
they look a bit rough.
Yeah,
they look a bit rough around the edges, but you're drawn back to it, and can't quite put your finger on it, but you know why you're doing it. Other people don't.
Yeah.
So, what do you think your favourite kind of looking games are on the PlayStation 1? Then, guys, just to kind of throw that in there. That's an interesting
that's a
point, I think. Yeah.
Favorite
so
looking
you have to pick. Let's put it down to maybe like 3 each or something.
Well, I mean, Metal Gear Solid certainly for me. When I first saw that was like, wow, look at the whole atmosphere about it. I'll probably go with Medal of Honor as well. And I'll I'm a big racing game fan. Probably the first Formula 1 game.
Those are really good answers. I really liked the whole Metal Gear thing about all the secrets, like the hiding in the box and getting in the back of the truck, so it would take you to a destination by what's on the box and all the little kind of hidden secrets.
Or just the fact you could sneak up on people.
Yeah.
And then just sort of
Throttle
break the neck. You know, I thought I haven't seen this before. Never seen that sort of thing.
The whole box thing with Metal Gear Solid. There was like an exploit for that where you could finish the game in about an hour and a half.
Really? Oh.
I saw you posted something about that the other night, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Because like you could there was 3 cardboard boxes you can get, like A, B, and C, and they'd all take you to different locations in the game.
Yeah.
But you weren't supposed to actually get the box until you'd been to that location. And there was like something you could do which would make cardboard box C spawn instead of A at the start of the game. So you could just start the game, do the bit at the start, where you first come out of the water and that, and then you go up the elevator and it plays a cutscene where he takes his scuba gear off and everything.
Yeah.
And then you get to the top and you get cardboard box A there, and you could get C by doing something, I can't remember what it was. Get in the van and equip it, and then it was basically like a rudimentary fast travel system.
Yeah.
Because if you equip the box in the van, someone would come up and go, "Oh, there's a box here for delivery," and then they'd drive you to your location.
Postman Pat.
Yeah. I thought it would be much more similar to get Des O'Connor to turn up and offer him some money for, you take the money or open the box. Sorry, that's a really old joke. Sorry, that's a really old reference.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Really old reference.
But yeah, you could get cardboard box C, get in the van, and the location for cardboard box C didn't appear until disc 2 of the game. So you get in the van, it'd drive off, and then it'd just come up on screen, please insert disc 2. And then you do it, and the story would carry off from the beginning of disc 2, which was virtually just the final boss fight. So you'd be severely under-equipped because you'd still only have your pistol, but...
Oh yeah, because you had to take on Metal Gear, and that was an absolute beast. It would fire tech missiles at you if you were too far away. Yeah. If you were close enough, it would either step on you or fire a little laser at you, and you had to kind of dodge the friggin' laser, didn't you? Oh, yeah,
but there was a pattern to it though. It was like you ran towards it when it was firing the missiles, then away from it when it was firing the laser, and then it would do something. But you could there was bits on that where you could pick up missiles for your guns and stuff if you ran around and had a look around, and if you picked up missiles, like say Nikita missiles, you'd get the launcher there instead of when you had it in the game, sort of thing. But until you actually managed to do that, you'd just have a pistol.
Just go around throttle. Just go around break people's necks until you get to that point.
Choking Metal Gear. But no, about an hour and a half, 2 hours. That was my quickest time on that.
Blimey.
Good looking games, really good looking games. Gran Turismo 2, I believe it was. I remember.
I forgot about Gran Turismo.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, it looks pixelated and rubbish now, but I remember watching you got the demo discs on the PlayStation magazines.
Yeah.
They used to call them rolling demos, which were basically the gameplay in itself. It weren't like an FMV sequence. It was like you're watching the game sort of being played, like an attract mode in an arcade game sort of thing. And I remember watching one of those of Gran Turismo 2 and being convinced it was actually footage of real cars.
but that happens nowadays with every sort of new racing game. Come out, you look and go, tell the difference.
But the thing, cars are just that easy to make look realistic anyway, because there's no moving parts, is there, as far as
apart from the wheels, otherwise.
The wheels, yeah.
Yes.
So it's like all you have to do is make a box and colour it in properly. And it looks like a real car, but yeah, just the fact that you could see them driving under streetlights, and you could see the streetlights reflecting off the windscreens and stuff.
Did escorts really well.
Yeah,
Ford Escorts days.
I don't know. I just remember that's one that really struck out for me as being a really good looking game. Tekken 3.
Oh yeah,
that was the first time I saw. I can't remember what they call it. It's something like mesh skinning or something like that, where it wasn't just the polygon model. They had a sort of stretchy skin over it. So when it twisted, it didn't look like the body was in 2 parts. It sort of stayed solid. I can't really describe it, but
I kind of know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know, say if you play Tekken 2 and somebody threw a punch, their arms would be in 2 segments. Whereas on Tekken 3, it was just one whole arm that bent instead of 2 segments that operated individually. And stuff like that blew my mind. I'm just trying to think of the third one. Possibly Silent Hill.
You think? I thought that looked a bit blocky. I mean, I liked it. I liked the whole graphics and the kind of mist, because that really like worked.
All the mist was there to do was hide the fact that the texture of the popping was really bad, but
yeah, exactly. Really, but it worked. It did a cracking job.
You're not going to tell people that; it'll spoil the effect.
But yeah, it was such a. I mean, it was one of my favorite games ever as well. That's another game that I mentioned that to Sean in the same conversation as the Metal Gear Solid thing. I played it so much that it took all the horror away from it, and I knew where everything was, and I could play through it on hard, like virtually taking no damage. But that game is one game that really blew me away. I think it was possibly because, like, after like Resident Evil and stuff, like the horror was so in your face in those games. Silent Hill was more psychological and stuff, so it just blew me away in that respect. But I remember it looking really good as well. I mean, possibly not now, but at the time, I thought it was a beautiful game.
It was. That atmospheric look to it. I think that's what.
Yeah.
The type of game it was, you needed something like that with it.
I want to say that the FMV sequences as well. I'm sure I read that they had like the most advanced facial expressions and stuff for the time. Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not, but it's just something that stuck with me in my mind.
Go
on then, you asked a question, so obviously we've done 3.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, it wasn't my intention to do so. It was just more to to go into that, because I was just thinking it just has some gorgeous games on there. Well, I've already said Wipeout, so I'll use that as one of mine, because I just thought that looked just amazing, and it still looks good by today's standards. I still think, looking back on that, just the tracks of spinning icons, it just had that kind of futuristic feel to it that I think looked amazing and just can't kind of be beaten in that point. And I totally agree with you about Gran Turismo and that, and for the fact that all that was kind of built into that game, I mean, it probably didn't count to a lot, but I think there was a 24-hour actual race you could do where you actually race for 24 hours.
Yeah, you could you could save it in like mid-race sort of thing. I can go back to it later, but me and a friend did it in one sitting.
My friend told me he did it, and I was like, what? I never actually would have done that. I never would have actually had the time to do it, but that just sounded amazing at the time.
No, me and my friend, we were doing it in shifts, like sleeping and like taking it into us to sleep and play. And by the end of it, you get so far ahead that you could basically just stop playing and still win the race. But it was a lot of fun.
I'm trying to think what would be the most kind of gorgeous little ones to look at that I remembered. I'm probably going to say, which will please Sean, I'll say something like Crash Bandicoot 3.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's probably, the 6 people who sit there and listen to this each week probably sitting there screaming, saying, "You not mentioned Crash Bandicoot yet."
Well, the first one I think looked a little bit blocky overall. I mean, not overly, but by the time they got to the third one, they kind of worked on and kind of eased out all the kinks, and it just looked amazing. I just remember Crash Bandicoot 3 just being a really pretty and well kind of balanced game. Everything about it was just really, really fun, and the whole thing with their polar bear, was it a polar bear or a little bear running along their Great Wall of China? There's a level along those lines. I think it was that.
Yeah.
That was just a heck of a lot of fun, and it just looked a really gorgeous game, and that's something that the N64 I don't think really had. I mean, you could say Banjo-Kazooie, but it wasn't really the same. This was more kind of, you had to go a certain path, whereas Banjo, you can just run it all over the place. It looked a really gorgeous game, and I think it was just amazing, really. I can see kind of like Sean loves it, and was, a really important game to him. They were gorgeous. I'm probably going to say Final Fantasy IX as well, which was a later release of the system.
Yeah.
But my God, the graphics on that game, I know it was on 4 discs, but it really needed to be, because it really kind of pulled it out of the bag. I think that was probably the last great game for the system, good looking. Somebody will probably call me out on that, but I think it looked amazing. And Final Fantasy VIII, looking back on that, probably doesn't look even as good as Final Fantasy VII in some points.
It was weird because 8 and 9 were both being developed at the same time as well.
Yeah.
And yet 9 looks so much better and came out so much later.
Yeah. Well, it's just
strange.
It was just the backgrounds in it that looked amazing. I mean, like, I might even say another one actually, but Oddworld, the Oddworld games, the backgrounds in those, I think it was more as well the backgrounds on it. The backgrounds just looked stunning. I mean, the foregrounds, probably in something like that, just wasn't very good in Abe, and you can kind of look back on it and say, yeah, the foreground wasn't amazing, but what was going on in the background just looked gorgeous. And but yeah, Final Fantasy IX got to be my last one out of those because the backgrounds and the whole story, the summons, just everything looked amazing on that game. It was just really, really good from start. But I still haven't finished the damn thing.
I'm just thinking on as well, Broken Sword and Broken Sword 2.
That wasn't... Go on, sorry.
So they were like playing like a Don Bluth cartoon. It was... The graphics just looked like something you'd see on TV. It was amazing.
I mean, I've not even mentioned things like the Resident Evils, the Resident Evil 2 and 3, the videos in that, and the sequences were really good. And there's so many like ones. There's so many to pick. But I think it was the backgrounds in those games, even if the people were a little bit blocky at points, just the whole backgrounds that you could look at, the power to do that, and the system was amazing.
There's loads of games that we're going to get through all the games that ever came out that are any good.
No.
There's loads. There's loads that we haven't touched on, and that's because.
Do you guys remember the first the games that came with your system? Can you remember that?
Well, I know Alien Trilogy. There was definitely one other. I'm sure there was. But I can't for the life of me remember.
Games that came with it. Now that's toughy because I bought it secondhand off somebody, so I didn't have any games that came with it, and it was out a good while before I actually bought one. Like I say, I played on my mates for a long time before it. But what I do remember is Virgin Megastores and their 2 for $30, which I snaffled up many a quality game for that. I think that's where I got my Resident Evils from. I think 2 and 3 I got on a 2 for $30, and my friend got Resident Evil 1 on its own, which is 20 quid by itself.
Don't even buy one of those for 30 quid now, can you?
No, well, I don't know, can you? I think they have gone up, but probably are more than that, actually. Yeah.
I don't know. Resident Evil 1's not actually that expensive, I don't think.
No. I don't know. It's not rare by any means, is it? So if it has gone up, it's just because of demand of the new ones coming out.
Yeah, both Sean and Eddie have both given me copies in this last year, but yeah, I'm sure you can. I mean, I got the Saturn version for like a tenner, so I'm sure you get the PlayStation version. I can't even imagine it being that much.
I think the first one's reasonably 2 and 3. I think
2 and 3 are
quite expensive. Yeah.
I remember my system came as it were a bundle from Argos, and I think they called it the Trilogy Bundle, and it came with Mortal Kombat Trilogy, Alien Trilogy, and Die Hard Trilogy. And then also 3 other games that you could pick from a list. Which
were they giving it away by them, were they?
No, we'd been sort of under financial trouble as a family when I was younger, and I think this was the first year when we actually had disposable money. So,
right.
My parents let me sort of go for something big. But yeah, the list of games weren't anything new at the time, I don't think, because I really wanted Destruction Derby 2. That was like the game that I really wanted. But out of the games on the list, you could pick another 3 of them, and I think I picked Reloaded, Casper, and Destruction Derby 1.
What are the first 2? So
Reloaded.
Oh right, yes, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and Casper, the Ghost, which is a surprisingly good game. It's like sort of like a sort of non-combat based role playing game, but
I didn't think it was sort of like anything else really. But was that based on the film? Was it or?
Yeah, based on the film. Yeah. It's just I remember on Christmas Day we used to go to my half sister's house for Christmas dinner and everything, and they allowed me to take my PlayStation with me, and I just sat up in their spare room and played Alien Trilogy all day, and it was amazing.
just I think the games that you could have had free from the list of 6 bit Castro. It would be really funny if, like, one of the games on this was Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Oh no, I did get that for £15, I believe it was though when I bought it.
£15, good.
Yeah,
grief.
there was that, and I got that in Castlevania Chronicles. I think Castlevania Chronicles was a tenner. So I got like 500 quid's worth of games for 25 quid that day. They weren't worth 500 quid back then.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It is bonkers. It is bonkers.
But, I mean, my Symphony of the Night's not worth much now because back in the day, my mum threw away my art book, and then I gave my CD to Eddie to complete his. So I've got the case in the game. That's all that matters to me.
Would we say this is an iconic console?
Oh yeah,
gotta be, hasn't it?
It changed the game. It really did. It's made Sega and Nintendo both sort of sit up and pay attention, I think.
Yeah, well, I think Nintendo probably rue the day that they said, "Nah, it's all right, Sony. You do your own thing."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we're all right. We're going cartridge, boys.
I think I've mentioned it before, but it made gaming. It's like it made gaming cool. Like they had them in nightclubs and stuff like that, and like the adverts for games like Wipeout, where it showed like people looking like they've been doing drugs on the adverts and stuff. And I think was it Cyberdeck game? It was like you had sort of hoverboards, and I remember the advert had the female character with a condom in her mouth, and it said like practice safe decks. And it's just like edgier stuff like that.
I think I know what you're saying. It's sort of made gaming cool, which I think is probably a good way of describing it. Yeah. I think probably people's perceptions up until that point were sort of like Mario and Sonic and all these like gaming's for kids, and that's when you sort of grow out of it now. Whereas this was sort of like for sort of teenagers and people with disposable income, because get these sort of things, and it was popular and it was all over the place, and it sort of integrated itself into the language very, very quickly.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it before I even knew what it was. Like hearing people say, "Oh, so and so's got a PlayStation." I didn't even know what it was, but it was just had like such an excitement about the name.
Yeah, it's definitely an absolute icon, and 25 years later, you can see a picture of it and know exactly what it is.
It just blew away absolutely everything. I mean, like it takes a lot to just walk all over like Sega and just come in there after being turned down by Nintendo and say, "Do you know what? We're going to do this." And like Pete said, it just destroyed the market for like everybody else. I don't think anything came close for like years after.
Of course,
they did the classic.
Sorry, Pete. No.
Sorry. They also, the thing with destroying Sega, they did the classic Sony move, though, didn't they? With the price. Waited for those to announce it, and then said those were cheaper. I'm surprised they didn't do that this time. Actually, when because they announced the price after the price of the Xbox Series X. I am honestly surprised it wasn't £50 cheaper. They've done that so many times now.
It's their thing now, isn't it? It's like, go on, you go first.
Yeah,
and it wasn't so much creating a new sort of console, but it sort of created a brand new brand.
Yeah,
console that's come out ever since then. There's been the next one numerically. So you've upgraded from a PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2, PlayStation, etc. And from having no sort of identity within gaming market and industry, 25 years later, be possibly the most recognisable gaming brand there is. Amazing achievement.
Definitely. I mean, Xbox is also it's a huge brand thanks to like the 360 and Xbox Live and everything. But still, it's like the PS logo has got to be up there with like the McDonald's arches and stuff. As like
it's just sound
logos that. Yeah, that PlayStation logo is the only logo you can hear in your head when you see it.
Yeah, it's like both sounds together, isn't it? The brilliang.
Yeah.
That was good. That very good. That
Thank you. I practiced.
did you do it originally? Is this for you know? You sort of use your
Yeah, that's
tones.
That's why I keep doing it. Every time you hear that sound, I get like a royalty, 0.001 of a penny.
They pay you in Marzipan. That's what it is. Yeah.
The amount of money you must have earned off my videos.
Oh yeah. Off your videos, yeah.
Or every time Sean gets a text.
Oh, is that what he's got on his phone? Is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Apart from when Lorraine texts him, and then it's a Sega thing from Sonic.
What, the drowning one?
No, the Sega thing at the start.
I tell you what you could do. You could give out Sean's telephone number and get people to text you and make his life a misery. He'll be fed up. He'll be fed up hearing that sound. 3 o'clock in the morning, people texting him. Yeah.
I don't think he would. It's like music to your ears.
I remember watching his game room vlogs, and just hearing the PlayStation noise going off all the time, and I was thinking, what is that? And it just turns out it was his phone. People were texting him. It was probably us on the chat.
Oh dear.
We won't go into the other PlayStation consoles because obviously themselves. We hope you've enjoyed that anyway, because it's a console that we obviously got a lot of memories from. I'm sure a lot of people may have started with the PlayStation 1. Would have picked it up years later after already being introduced to gaming, but no doubt about it, it's an absolute icon of that generation. Without it, I'm not really sure where we would be.
No.
Not sure how gaming developed beyond that, because very much a new sort of thing, and hadn't worked. I'm not quite sure.
We'd all be playing Xbox
cartridge games, probably.
We probably wouldn't have been playing Xbox because the kind of like the idea of coming into the console market might not have even occurred to Microsoft.
But that's a good point, actually.
Yeah, we could have all been playing Atari Jaguars and stuff. You don't know.
Is that a bad thing?
Or Nintendo would still be releasing their games in cardboard boxes.
Yeah, on cartridge. Man, they are doing it on cartridge now, aren't they?
Yeah, back to cartridges. Everything should be back to cartridges now. Way better.
We'll be going back to tape soon. Oh.
I like tape.
I like tape as well. Yes, I like tape as well. So, anyway, that's another discussion for another time. Yep, so we'll wrap this episode up, and I think plenty of food for thought there. If you've got any thoughts of your own, don't forget to leave a comment below. Always nice to hear from people. And if you have enjoyed the episode, do let us know. And we've got to go away and plan now for episode 25, which is really a milestone episode, isn't it?
It's got a duck in it.
Yeah, it's got a duck and then an upside down duck.
It's like Duck Hunt, isn't it? Got one.
2 and 5, the Oh No Not Again episode. I don't know. We'd have to
quarter of a century.
That'll be up in a couple of weeks' time, and yeah, like you sitting there listening to this, we can't believe it either, really. That's great. That's really good.
Well, they keep coming back, so we're going to keep doing it. That's what we said, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if they stop watching and listening,
I shouldn't have said that, should I?
No, not really. No. You meant to promote the brand.
Yes, come back, please.
Yes.
Bring Marzipan.
Bring Marzipan. Oh dear. There we go. Yeah, parts of this podcast have been very much like a badger using a food mixer. I'm not quite sure how it's gone tonight. It's been a bit weird, but we hope you've enjoyed it anyway. And we thank you for the pleasure of your company. I'd like to say thank you very much to Pete and Nath for giving up their time again this week to speak to you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Right, we'll speak to you again very, very soon. In the meantime, this is the Retro Bear saying toodaloo for now. We'll catch you again in a couple of weeks' time for episode 25. In the meantime, do take care, stay safe out there, do follow the advice, and we'll see you again very, very soon. All for the best. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.